Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryankaravavahe, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So yesterday we talked about two main ideas and the two takeaways. And we firstly said that the nature of who you are is never away from you. It is, in Sanskrit, it is never indirect knowledge. We use the word paroksha jnanam. So don't say that Atma is that awareness is indirect, and I need to now sort of, I need to meditate upon it, and I will get it, right? Or I need to go to some person and they will bless me this, this thing, whatever it is. Or, for example, after I die, only then I will be in touch with the final reality. And you see this in traditions, right? They say after you die, only then you go to heaven, and only then you're the final thing. So you can see the era, how it plays out when we think that the final reality is not here. It is here, it is you, it is everything. It is not just you, it is everything you see, the wall, the air, everything. And that has to be recognized. Why is it not recognized is the question. If it's true, if something is so true, why do I not know it? It's a simple question. And the reason is basically is that we all get born with this notion that I am as good as this person. And it gives you two kinds of errors. You see yourself localized, you're over there, not over there. And if you're over there, you're not over there. Okay, you're always localized in space and time-bound. I am born and I will die. As children, we don't think of this very much. But as adults, we kind of get, wow, I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, I'm 80. Death is approaching. So these two, the person has to deal with every single lifetime. I am time-bound, an 80-year-old person. I am bound for 80 years, and I am localized here. That's why as children we want to go everywhere, because we want to explore everything. Because we're here. I'm not over there, so I want to be there in that party. So these are the errors that get produced by this notion that that you don't have it already, that you're not it. Okay? The second prominent point that we said is Atma. Atma means self, Atma Bodha, is Vastu Tantra. Vastu Tantra means it is true already. Like this cup, it is metal. It's already metal. If I've got a problem with metal, I don't like metal, the metal doesn't care, the metal is going to continue being metal, it's going to only hurt me because I refuse to accept this for what it is. The fact is, the truth of this is, it's metal. So there's no choice for me than to accept this or to see this as it really is. The longer I remain in resistance to what is, the more I get or continue my search. That's why the search continues, because the person wants awareness, the final reality, to be something different. Therefore, the only way to understand is to be told. Otherwise, we would have figured this out a long time ago. That's why we need the pramana, the scriptures, which explicitly says, here's where you're making the mistake. We need to be told, literally. That's why we go to class, to learn. We need to be told. And this requires, of course, humility. We can see why tapas is so important. Otherwise, the adult says, I don't need to hear this, I can figure this out on my own. Therefore, Atma is Vastu Tantra, which means it's not a matter of choice of what I want Atma to be. I can't say I want Atma to be a blissful experience, because it's not. The scriptures don't say it's a blissful experience, even though most will think, oh, Sat Chit Ananda, therefore it's bliss. That's a different meaning. Atma is not some, what else did I say? You know, blissed out thing, or, you know, you're somehow, everything's resolved, or you know the reality, and suddenly your eyesight improves, and there's no cancer, and there's no diseases. Ramana Maharishi got, you know, cancer, and then some beginners, they said, oh, he got cancer, therefore he's not liberated. See, this is the problem of not knowing what the self is. They think the self is in the body. If you know the self, suddenly your eyesight is better. There's no connection between the body and self. So we can see how small error makes big, big consequences. Now, saying this in verse 4, it was a simple verse. It said that because Atma is Vastu Tantra, it is to be discovered as it really is. And it used the example of the sun shining constantly, and clouds are hiding the sun. And it's not as simple as blowing the clouds away, of course. So let's not simplify this. There is a methodology. And now in verse 5, it wants to actually start bringing the method, how to start discerning self from that which is not self. So verse 5, it says, knowledge purifies the jiva. Ajnana kushalam jivam jnana bhyasat vinirmalam kritva jnanam swayam nashyet jalam katakare nuvat. Now goes into the actual prakriya of discernment. And the question will start with, how do you use your mind to arrive to its own truth? Look at this question. How do I use the mind to arrive to its own truth? So this implies that the mind is not the final thing, number one. And second of all, if you give this question to an ordinary person, and you say, how do I use the mind to arrive to its truth? What truth? My mind is the final truth. So we now have to come to the final reality that is even before the mind. And this method is called, very simple method, in Sanskrit, Drik Drishya Viveka. It basically means in English, the discernment between the seer and the seen, or the subject and the object. The most basic prakriya that introduces one, and will then take it from here on. So let's take, for example, what should I take? Okay, we'll take this cup. Now, we all see a cup here, and it has features. It has silverish, there's some lines there. It's round. It occupies a certain kind of space. It's, you know, average size, and it's got sharp edges. So these are all features of this object. And this object, in reference to your eyes, is seen. Okay? This object is seen. Now, your eyes are the seer of this object. Okay? Very simple understanding. Now, this object, as we said, has features. Do any of these features pass on to your eyes? Like when you're looking at this, do your eyes now take on sort of, you know, roundness and silverishness? Do your eyes become silver, or, you know, large or small? No? Suppose this was red, right? do your eyes now go from whatever color your eyes are into red, right? Suppose this was bright. Would your eyes become suddenly bright? Suppose this was black. Would that in any way affect the seer of this? No. So what can we establish by this so far at this simple level? That the seer never gets contaminated by what is seen. So the attributes never pass on from the seen onto the seer. Now, let's take, for example, your eyes. Your eyes, especially for older, go through a series of changes, such as farsightedness, short-sightedness, right? Color, what color is your eyes, right? Whatever color it is. Sometimes there's cataract on the eyes, hopefully not. We wake up and we've got a very good long sight as we were younger. Then we get older, we got short sight. And then we put our glasses on and suddenly you got long sight again. So your eyes are now the same position as that glass. Your eyes become the seen. And your mind becomes the seer. How does your mind become the seer? Because you can tell definitively. You say, oh, my eyes are like blurry today. Oh, my eyes, I got such good vision today. So there is something that reports the status of the eyes, which is the mind. Now, do the conditions of the eyes, do they pass on to your mind? For example, you've got long sight, and suddenly, or you've got sharp sight. Does your mind become sharp? No, we've got people who are quite cuckoo, but they got excellent vision. Okay? And your eyes become maybe... Does your mind take on, get totally clouded by sense of sight when you open your eyes? Does it get totally kind of... All it sees is just sight. That's the only thing it can bear in that moment while it's got its eyes open. No, really. It can do calculations, mathematics. It can do whatever it wants. While there's this whole sight inside the mind, this whole image. So this means that the attributes of the eyes, however they are, in whatever condition they are, do not pass on to the mind. Now, what is the relationship between your mind and you? So, for example, your mind is what? How would you define your mind?
Continuously changing. Yes.
Continuity of thoughts. I think that's a general description. Continuity of thoughts. A series of thoughts. Now, this thought that you're having now, whatever that thought is, right now, take a moment and enjoy that thought right now. Okay. So you're enjoying this thought now, right? Now, suppose you're going, oh, this is, I'm going through something, right? I'm going through some thought. Where was that thought 5 minutes ago? No. That thought was nowhere, and that there was me, there was a presence and awarefulness there, who at that time, 5 minutes ago, was identified with that thought. Now that thought is gone. This thought is now here. There's an awareful presence. And again, I'm doing the same thing as I did 5 minutes ago. Oh, I'm going through a hard time. I'm so, joyed. I'm so blissed out and so on. A mind of 5 minutes later is waiting for me. That 5 minutes mind comes over. Same story. Oh, I'm now blissful. I'm joyed. Oh, this is going on. This is going on. So this means there is a presence that is there before a thought arrives, an awareful presence. The same awareful presence is there while the thought is present in this moment. And the same awareful presence will be there 5 minutes later, when a totally different thought will be there. So this means that even the mind becomes the scene, and the awareful presence becomes the seer. Okay? Mind becomes the scene. The 5-minute thought from now will be seen when 5 minutes comes, and I will be there in whose presence that thought will be absolutely known, will be absolutely revealed, will be absolutely there. In whose presence? In my presence. Whatever that my is, you want to define it. We call it Atma in this book, Atma. Now, my question is, who is doing this inquiry? Who just did this inquiry? The mind did this inquiry. So the mind, having gone through a pramana, got to its own truth, got to that which is behind the mind, before the mind, that which is even more prominent, even more present than the mind. So this means we need the mind to come to that which is other than the mind. Because the mind, what? The mind at 5 minutes from now, is the mind 5 minutes from now here? No. What's here now? The mind that was of the past. 5 minutes ago, I would have said, hey, I'm waiting for the 5 minutes mind. You're experiencing that 5 minutes mind right now that you said 5 minutes ago. Same thing is going to happen in 5 minutes from now. There will literally be an entirely different person 5 minutes from now, totally identified with that person. Therefore, awareness becomes the seer, we call it Atma, and the mind becomes the seen too. Now, do the attributes of the mind pass on to awareness? No. Because if they did, then this mind now, that's true for you now, would be stuck and it will be carried over 5 minutes from now. That means if you're carrying some sadness, right, it's going to be stuck to awareness. So this means that just like the cup, the eyes, the mind, all of them have attributes. Sadness, happiness, joyfulness, thoughtfulness, not so thoughtfulness, whatever it is, the attributes never pass on to the seer. Otherwise, if one attribute passed on to you, then if by the time you look at this cup right now, and I remove the cup, and I show you a hand, if the cup got stuck to you, what would you see? You would see this. So this means your awareness is always available, fresh, of every attribute of the mind, because your mind is this. This is mind. You're looking at mind right now. You're aware of mind right now. What is aware of this mind? This is mind. This is the whole thing is in your mind right now. This person is in your mind. The voice is in your mind. The thinker is in the mind. The whole thing's in the mind. In the presence of awareness, this mind is recognized. 5 minutes later, in the presence of the same awareness, that mind will be recognized. Now, one thing that I want to point out is there's a tendency to want to pass on the attributes onto the mind. For example, we say that Atma is limitless. Atma is free of sorrow. Then what do we try to do? We try to pass it onto the mind. So we try to make the mind free of sorrow. We try to make the mind free of pain. So doing this, what happens? What am I saying about awareness? That awareness has attributes. So this means that there is something about me that has experience. That's called mind. What experiences pain? What experiences sorrow? What experiences confusion? What experiences clarity? That's all at the level of the mind. What goes, aha, I got it. That's at the level of the mind. What goes, oh, I'm totally confused. Totally, I don't know what's going on now. I'm trying to kind of connect. What is that experience generated by? Mind. Now, where was that mind 5 minutes ago? 5 minutes ago, there was an entirely different mind, but you were there, lighting up that kind of mind, whatever that mind was going through. 5 minutes later, clarity. Ah, I got it. What's lighting up that mind? The same you that was there lighting up that confused mind 5 minutes ago. So this means both ignorance or confusion and knowledge of a matter belongs to the mind. But there is one common presence, invariable presence, that is there during a confused mind, during a clear mind, during the confused mind, during a clear mind, all throughout this confused, clear, like this, like that, all of this belongs to that mind that is yet to come 5 minutes from now. So this kind of a relationship we can call between awareness and the mind a seer-seen relationship, a drik-drishya relationship. Very simple, a subject-object relationship. Now I want to tell us a little bit more about the mind. What is, when I say the mind, right? I've said the mind a couple of times. What is the mind? Okay. So mind in Vedanta is defined as inner instrument. Inner. Why is it inner instrument? Well, because it's an instrument that I can't see. Instrument. We'll call it antahkarana. Antahkarana. Or you can just call it the subtle body. Subtle body. Okay. So, in simple English, mind. What is this? Is this an N or a B? Okay. So this mind has 4 components. The first is, we'll say, manas. Manas. So suppose you see a child that's crying right now. What's going to be invoked? The first thing. A child who's by themselves, they're about 5 years old, they lost their mommy, and you're the only person that's there. What's going to be invoked?
I feel sorry.
Yeah, what else? You know,
Emotions.
Emotion is going to be invoked. Whatever that emotion is, concern, love, right? Whatever, So, emotion. We'll say, for example, empathy. Empathy. Okay? Fair enough. So, manas is empathy. Now, should we start the class at 8 o'clock tonight or 7:30? What do you think? Should we? When should we start the class? 8:30? 8? 7:30? Yeah? 7:30? Okay. Okay, I'm definitive now. Okay. I was in doubt. So the manas is not only your emotion, it's also that doubt. Should I marry him or her? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I come tonight or should I not come tonight? Okay? So whenever you experience doubt about someone or something or about yourself or a teaching, I'm not sure if this is making sense right now. What are you identified with? The manas. So we'll put doubt. Okay. The next is, suppose when you make that final conclusion, like tonight, 7:30, we will change. Like definitive. I have decided that pendulum has stopped swinging and has made its conclusion. You're definitive now. That is your buddhi. Buddhi. And we'll call this your, an analyze. What else do you want? Intellect, yeah. What else for Buddhi? Decisiveness. Decision. Anything else? Anything comes in your mind for Buddhi? Understanding. That means coming to the, to the heart of the matter. Now, what color is your car? If you have a car. Okay, what color is your front door?
If you have a house.
Remember? Go on, think about it. What color is your front door? Okay, where's your fridge in your kitchen? Get the look. Yeah, good. Yeah. What did you eat yesterday? Where were you sitting yesterday outside? If you were doing that, where were you sitting? Take a moment to remember.
Memory.
Okay, what's working right now? Part of your mind. We call them chittam. Chitta, which is memory. Imagine if you didn't have this. Wow. There was a YouTube video of a man called, you saw, right? 7-second man. He's very happy. He was a composer, musical composer, and he met a nice girl, at the back, and they fell in love. And during his career, he got very sick suddenly, and it's very rare for the disease to penetrate the brainstem and go inside the brain and starts eating the hippocampus, I think, which is responsible for the memory. And it just ate up the hippocampus, which is, he couldn't remember even his own house. He couldn't find his house, so he had to go to the police station, and they had to help him out. So this disease started to grow and grow and grow, and he was crying. His wife at that time, she opened the door, and he was crying, and she said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Because I cannot be present. I'm unconscious. I'm unconscious. I'm unconscious. I'm unconscious while awake." Imagine that. Because he can't remember just a moment ago. He's constantly in the now. There's no sense of continuity. And he describes that as being unconscious, like in some kind of a woken state, and yet no sense of what I just did a moment ago. So it's, yeah.
Is that not like a little child that is just born?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I don't know what his experience is, but he was specifically, if I remember. Do you remember, Jens? He was.
No, I remember you told the story before. That's why.
Oh, okay. It was really touched me. How much tragedy? Just take one component out of your mind, the memory. So that whole sense of continuity is because of memory. So we'll put chittam, memory. Okay, and we need this, right? You need a great memory to access the teachings. Otherwise, if we say one class, and if we cannot connect it to another class, then you can't really kind of connect the dots. So class 1, class 2, class 3, right? They all have to be connected together. Okay, they all have to work together. So you can see that even memory is part of our training. Now, the last part is your eye sense. Call this aham. I think it's along a kara. And we'll just put this eye sense. Eye sense. Now, what happens is your eye sense, in English we call this not pride, because ego in English has two words. Number one, you got a big ego. That's pride. I'm not talking about pride. I'm talking about the sense of I, sense of individuality. Ego. Okay. So what happens with hamkara, this is where the big problem is. It's not these. This is where all the misidentification happens. Is that what happens with I sense is it connects the we're still at the child. It connects the emotion and we say, I am experiencing, right, this emotion. It connects it to the intellect and it says, I am now calculating, I am working things out. It connects it to the memory and we say, oh, I cannot remember. I am, obviously not, good anymore. I'm not sharp as I used to be. So all of that gets dumped onto I. Right? So this gets dumped onto I, this gets dumped onto I, and this. Probably dumped is not a good word. It just gets connected. So write the word connected. And then what do we say? How is our experience? We say, I am going through this time, through this kind of analysis, through this kind of, I'm just having this experience. Now what happens is, the mistake is that you say, I am observing. I am experiencing. I am knowing. And all of this, what happens is you've taken one of these components. This is all mind. All of this is, in one word, mind. So what happens is the person takes ahamkara and they create a space between the ahamkara and everything else. And then they say, I am, which is referring to ahamkara, witnessing my emotions. I am witnessing my thinking. I am witnessing my memory. And most stop here. They think, I figured it out. This I am is this awareness. And this observation, where they say, who's observing the thoughts? Common question. Who's observing your thoughts? Instantly, and the answer would be, I am, right? But this I am 99.9% of the time will be the ahamkara. Because a wise person who truly gets it doesn't ask questions, who's observing the thoughts? That question specifically belongs to the field of psychology. Psychology, specifically DBT and ACT. Okay? These are just coping mechanisms to help you with painful thoughts. So now a space is created. I am observing my life. I'm observing you. I'm observing, my own self, whatever it is. And this is we will be looking more into this to discern clearly how do I recognize the difference between ahamkara and my true self, because this is the crux of all spirituality. They can speak all they want. If you don't get this, then the person has gone a little bit off track.
So as we saw in this Drik Drishya Viveka, so finally the Drik, the seer, is considered as this ahankar, or it is different from that?
Good question. So the question is, Drik Drishya Viveka, the final seer, the final Drik, is that the ahamkara? It can be if you don't continue the inquiry. So if I just leave you at Drik Drishya Viveka, most of the time the person will resort back onto the mind. And they will say, I here am witnessing the world. It's always this eyes, the eye is always here. But the fact is, I is everywhere. So we have to understand, we have to take it one step further, that you don't localize your I here. That's what I don't want you to do, because that's where most people go wrong. Your I is all pervading, which is you. And this will be done in the upcoming verses. Okay. Also, one more thing is that, are we eliminating the ahamkara? Yes?
Can we ask who's the observer of ahamkara?
Yeah, but see, who's the observer of the ahamkara? But see, that still kind of creates this separation between whatever your answer is and the ahamkara, when in both of them, the substance of both of them is the same, which is awareness, which is what we're going to do. We need.
Isn't it therefore that they call it the silent witness?
Yeah, they
It's
can.
like there is no thought, there is no.
Yeah,
It's not a thing.
but it's still known, it's still observed by the ahamkara. Okay. Otherwise, if you take the ahamkara out, that's called deep sleep.
So
ahamkara is different, awareness is different.
Yeah, ahamkara is, awareness is in the presence of awareness. Ahamkara does what it does. Now, again, I want to pose a question. How do you specifically tell definitively whether, I've got it? Like, how do you tell the difference between ahamkara and awareness? Just so it's going to be coming up. Okay. So one question I want to ask is, do we need to eliminate the ego? Get rid of the ego? No. Because you just have to understand your ahamkara is just one of the 4 functions of the mind. The mind is just an instrument. That's all it is. Given to every individual. I just have to understand, hey, the sense of I is just one of the 4 functions. It's nothing special. That's the first step or your first relationship to your so-called ego. It's just one of the 4 functions, nothing special about it. In the presence of awareness, this ahamkara gets lit up. In the presence of awareness, this ahamkara claims I am experiencing. In the presence of awareness, this ahamkara claims I am doing. In the presence of awareness, this ahamkara claims I am knowing. What do you know about this? Speak first person. I know that this is a pen. Okay, I know this is a pen. Now, I want us to do this and then say, I am doing this. I am doing. So right now, you're a doer. Okay, I am doing this. Right now, you're a doer. Right now, I know about this pen. Right now, I am a knower. Now, I want you to remember a happy moment in your life. Take a moment to remember a very nice moment, and while you come say, I am now an experiencer. It could be even a bad moment if you want. But okay. I am now an experiencer. Gone. I am now a knower. Gone. I am now a doer. Gone. Through and through, there is an invariable presence. I am, I am, I am. There's a common I throughout them all. When you're mowing the grass or doing whatever it is that you like to do, what do you like to do that really immerses you? Someone likes crocketing?
Crochet.
Yeah, that word. Okay? I like to vacuum the house for some reason, I don't know. When you're someone who likes to repair things, right? Some manly things, what a woman like to do, Yeah, cooking, right? You're just totally like immersed in that process. You're like totally a doer. That's what I'm getting to. You're just a doer. You're not thinking the secrets of the universe or Vedanta. You're just genuinely identified with the doer. And so you're doing, you're like this, doing. You're really just totally activated. Every part of you is doing. And then someone comes over and says, hey, did you see what they said in the news? And you're like, oh, tell me, I want to be a knower. And now they're telling you the news. Oh, okay, interesting. So this president won, okay, this country, this war is happening. Oh, okay. And now you're so exhausted, you sit down on the hammock. Looking at the sky. Totally identified with enjoyer. Your ahamkara constantly changes. I am now a doer, I am now a knower, I am now an enjoyer, now I'm a doer, now I'm an enjoyer, now I'm a doer, now I am a knower, now I'm an enjoyer, doer, enjoyer, knower, enjoyer, doer, knower, enjoyer. All throughout, I am. Constant presence, awareful presence.
From where does this ahamkar get this awareness kind of thing that it is a conscious being?
Yeah, so the ahamkara is, the truth of the ahamkara is actually awareness. So it's not like there's something called ahamkara. It's just that we confuse, as I said, dump this experience onto I. And then I claims ownership of that. That ownership is called ahamkara. But in actuality, through this exercise, you understand, I never claim ownership. If I did, then I will be a doer forever. But you're free, you're allowed to relinquish that doer like that. The moment you stop cooking, you're no longer a doer. You've got your senses back. Okay, now I am knowing, I'm analyzing, I'm thinking, oh, okay, how does this work? What do I need to do tomorrow? How do I need to plan the day tomorrow? What do I need to do? Who do I need to say to what? Am I paying attention to my duties? And when do I need to take a break? You are totally thinking, identify with thinker. And then end of the day, let me just take a break and relax. You're neither a knower nor a doer. Now, just an enjoyer. They call it being. No, we call it enjoyer. And then alarm clock. Get up. Doer, like that. From enjoyer to doer in 1 second. Constantly, the ahamkara changes between roles.
So we identify with the ahamkara.
Yes, yes. Which is nothing wrong with that you identify. Just to recognize, we're bringing this inquiry forward to see how the ahamkara changes.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of identifying or not identifying, just recognize it's changing. Job done. Simple as that. So it's okay. It's not like a wise person, is totally like alert.
But that which changes is not awareness. Awareness is always constant.
It's always conscious presence that you are. You always know that you are. You always I am, no matter what you're doing. Except that we don't think I am while we're a doer. We're totally immersed in our thing. But you know that it's awareful I, which is evident. No one has to say, hey, do you know that you exist right now? Yeah, I know that. Yeah, well, that's your I am. You know that you exist effortlessly. It's the most simplest formula. I even have to tell you what is 5 times 5. What is 5 times 5? 25? But I tell you, you are. You are. Yeah, and? Nothing. That's all I have to say. What's wrong with you? Why are you telling me that? I don't know. I just thought I'd let you know that you are. Yeah, I knew that before you told me. I always knew that. But we have to be told everything else. The simplest to the simplest information. 1 + 1 you have to learn. And then when we get amnesia, we forget our life. Can you forget that you are?
Maybe that's the problem people have with death. Because this I am is so natural
Yeah.
that then the idea that it would not be is cannot grasp.
You mean that the I am is going to disappear after death?
Yeah, something like
This is the fear. Yeah, that the I am is going to just end because it's so much in the body, so much in the mind. Yeah, so it's not pleasant. I mean, I don't know how it is for others, but you can speak.
Before I was, consciousness was there, awareness was there. Even I won't be there, it will be there. It doesn't make a difference.
No,
Yeah, your body won't be there, your thoughts won't be there, yeah.
But I think most people are so afraid of death because this I am is so
They get
natural.
attached to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now the next model I want to show us is how, so we're changing topics slightly. I want to just put a little logistical thing. Some things may seem a little bit broken, like how is this connected to that? Bear with me. I'm setting up a model. A lot of work goes for the first 10 verses. After verse 10, then we just sort of revise. So the hard work is verse 1 to 10, especially now that it's coming up, and tomorrow and so on. So I want to talk about how understanding takes place of anything. And the reason to know this is I will then connect it to show you how moksha takes place and what actually happens when, right, what they call liberation or enlightenment, what actually happens when moksha takes place. So to answer that, when we get to know anything in this world, in Sanskrit, there is a model we call vritti jnanam. Vritti means thought, and jnanam means knowledge. So I'll show you now what I mean. Okay. So you're seeing right now this, right? This pen. So where is this pen now? I know you're going to say it's here, but actually, in analysis, where is this pen? Yeah, it's a pen. It's because, the light's reflecting, whatever, it's bouncing back in your eyes, and it's recreated in your mind. It's amazing, right? We think it's here, but it's actually over there, right? So, vritti jnanam takes place when we see, the eyes see an object. I'll put a tree here, okay? The eye sees an object, and then it sends it to the brain and the mind. So I'll put a brain here. The brain, of course, communicates it with the mind. So plus mind. And what happens is what's called vritti jnanam, or jnanam. Okay, so vritti jnanam just means a internal thought is representing the external object. Okay, so right now, you literally have an identical object in your mind as this pen. Now, see, look at this. Let me do a little bit more. How about this? Okay. Vritti jnanam is taking place in your mind. But do you have full knowledge of this? Of this object? Why not? Even though vritti jnanam has taken place, and it's representing this scribble, razor, what you don't have is this. Now the image is slightly more complete because you're getting it from two sides. So this means now your image, internal image, is more aligned to the object. So in order to help you see the nature of this object, I have to show you different angles, different standpoints, different perspectives. Otherwise, we just say, it's next. But there's so much more behind. Now imagine, this is easy. Imagine if I'm showing you a topic like Vedanta, like who you are and what is Ishvara and what's all the connections. Imagine how much angles we have to get a full understanding of the matter. That means if I just say, hey, let's do drisha viveka, subject, object, and you walk out, I've only shown you this. Who's observing the thought? I've only shown you one part. I have to show you different parts too. So this means the more we understand the matter, the more that internal picture starts to accurately represent what is intended to be conveyed. And what is intended to be conveyed here? Atma. Therefore, what we have to do is we have to accurately show you. Now, I want to break this down into more specifics. I've given you a basic model of what happens. Vritti jnanam. Now, this vritti jnanam is divided into two categories. We call it vritti vyapti. Vritti vyapti, which in English means, I'll explain first. And pala vyapti. Okay, vritti vyapti and pala vyapti. So, vritti vyapti, you and I already know. We said, this is vritti vyapti. This is just another name for, the top word. So, vritti, thought, vyapti, result. What has now resulted? A thought of an eraser. But then you say, aha, I have now understood this eraser is now my vision for the first time. For example, right now, there's no eraser. And I introduce something to you and you go, aha, represented. And now that it's represented in my mind, it is mine. It is my vision. It is my sight. It is my experience. So this my experience, that means for the first time ever, this has popped up in you. Now it's not, for the first time ever, this has popped up. So first time, and I'm going to say here, mine. First time. I also call it aha, that aha moment. aha, I know what it is now. It's a whiteboard marker.
Didn't you say it's Vritti Vyapti?
No, that's good. No, that's Palavyapti. Vritti Vyapti is good, Jens. Is specifically a mental image has been represented in the mind. And when it's represented, you go, aha, it is my vision. Mental image represented in mind. Okay?
Can you tell it as cognition?
Yeah, cognition of cognition is actually Palavyapti. Yeah. So in all simplicity, Vritti Vyapti, mental image. Simple, mental image. Palavyapti, aha, it's my image.
In this case, the way you explain it now, is there a knowledge involved? Because if you have to say, oh, that's clearer, or what's it called? You need some knowledge, some reference, no?
Yeah, then you access, so you just access your chittam, your memory.
Yeah, okay.
So that's how it's connected.
So with Vritti Vyapti you will not get knowledge. Only with Phala Vyapti you will get knowledge.
No. Okay. Specifically, this model is when you see a worldly object.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Knowledge of worldly object only.
Yeah. So whenever we see anything, a face, then you go home, two things are going to happen because they happen so fast. Vritti Vyapti, the face is represented in my mind, and for the first time this face is here, right, because it's now here, aha, my whatever, my friend or my this or my that. Suppose Vritti Vyapti doesn't take place and you're shown something. What's going to happen?
They will ask, what is this?
What is this? What else is going to... Suppose they don't even ask that. They just walk away with a partial vritti vyapti. What are they going to say? How are they going to interpret the world? What would they think? Anything according to partial vision.
A blind person will not have vritti vyapti.
They will, because they're still using ears. Yeah, they're still using taste, tongue, and all of this. These are five senses. They all are means for vritti vyapti. Now, suppose you're dozing off and you're going, oh, this is so theoretical. What do I do with this? Let me give you an example. Suppose it's late night and you and I are walking by ourselves here and we see a snake nearby. A nice brown snake.
Nice.
Yeah. And we don't quite see what it is in full because it's not near, it's not far, we're not sure what it is. And we are how much, suppose it's actually a rope or a belt. Suppose somebody bought a belt, a crocodile belt, I had one of those, that literally has scales of a crocodile or a snake. That's more accurate because we keep on using rope, right? So suppose it's a belt. And they just toss it away here. That would be really a good one, right? And you literally think it's a snake, right? And how accurate is your vritti vyapti compared to what it actually is? It's actually a belt, but your vritti vyapti has represented something that's close to that object, which is now, according to your memory, what you've seen before, you will fill in, according to your memory, a snake. So if you've never seen a snake before in your life, you will probably fill in whatever else you can fill in. But you've seen a snake, therefore you will borrow from your memory. So that will induce fear. Genuine fear. You will go and scream and you will cause havoc and drama and everyone else will join you. You will create noise in the world. A lot of it, all because of an attribution error. I made an error. I'm seeing something which is not. I'm seeing, right, a snake. but it's actually something totally different. Now, how do you correct this? What do you have to do to correct this?
Light.
Hmm?
Light.
Yeah, you have to do a little bit of light. Now, suppose that you don't have the strong light. You have to see a little bit more of what is. Have to see more is. And in the manual, to compare. Okay, a snake actually has a hood. A cobra has a hood. This has no hood. Okay. I kind of believe you. What else? Well, a snake actually has much smaller scales. This has big scales. I haven't thought of that. Okay. One ignorance at a time starts to go away. And as more ignorance goes away, what happens? Less snake, more vritti vyapti, that is accurately representing what it actually is. And where is that vritti vyapti happening? In my mind. And when it happens, I'm now aligned, my mind's aligned to what is. No more fear, no more error. Why do you think we have maths classes and tests and questions that we get? Why do you think I give you questions after session? To test your vritti vyapti. I want to see how accurate is this based on what we said. Until then, you don't know. You feel confident, like I got it. Question comes, oh, I don't know. That, oh, I don't know, reveals the vritti vyapti hasn't accurately represented in your mind. There's no close correlation between what I said and what you understood. Now, look at this. With ordinary objects, it's no issue. Black hole. So what if I don't know where black hole is? What consequences does that have on me? How a black hole comes, where is it, how long it lasts, what's inside a black hole? Any consequence to you? No. But what about not knowing Atma, who you are? How consequential is that? Because now I see, what kind of an image do I have represented of me in my mind? One who is small, who is little, who is needs more for myself, who needs to gain objects, who needs to kind of experience, has to become something, has to be someone. Now it becomes hugely consequential when it's about I, because it directly targets you, the one who is the center of life. That person, if I don't know who that one is, not that it's a person, if I don't know who that I is, it's majorly consequential. Because as Daisy said, fear of death, comparison, I'm comparing you against me, there are all sorts of consequences. In chapter 4, verse 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, it says, karma, kim karma iti, kim akarma iti. In other words, even the wise are confused. Now, they're not the wise, but just wise. Confused, what is action and what is inaction? What is action and what is inaction? So they say, so since Atma is actionless, because it's all pervading, that's why it's actionless. If you're everywhere, how can you possibly have any action? You can't move because you're everywhere. In that sense, Atma is actionless. Now, if Atma is actionless, and they say, so in order to be this actionless being, I have to reduce the amount of actions. I have to be totally actionless. Even the wise are confused. Why? Because their vritti vyapti is incomplete. Now, I will talk about how this ties in with moksha after break. Purnamadav, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnam eva avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.